Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Braselton, Georgia's always intimidating Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Having taken only 6 months to excavate, grade, and pave before its first ever event in September 1970, a Can-Am race that saw Sir Sterling Moss as its Grand Marshal, Road Atlanta has not only grown to be one of the preeminent circuits in North America over the last 50 years, but has earned a large portion of that reputation based on the great sports and touring car races it hosts each and every year. And hence, it's the perfect venue for week number 6 of the Ray Esports Racing League's winter season, brought to you by Grassroots Motorsports Magazine, Spec Racer Sports, Common Gear, and Grass Paddock Motorsports here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsburg with DJ Clark in the announce booth and Jonathan Grabowski in that virtual production trailer. And for those of you joining us for the very first time, first, where have you been? And we've got 9 weeks of action across 4 classes: Spec Racer Ford, Spec Miata, and new for this season, 2 touring car classes featuring the Volkswagen Jetta TDI Cup cars in one class and the brand new Toyota GR86 Cup cars in the other. Each class will race 6 times over the course of that 9-week season. And so on tap tonight will be 2 20-minute sprint races. First up are going to be those touring cars. You can see them on track right now, followed by a little bit later tonight, Spec Miata, each of them running their 4th of 6 races this season. And so as for those Spec Racer Fords, we'll see them next week when Ray Esports heads up to the Finger Lakes region in New York and Watkins Glen International. So good evening, DJ, and let's quickly talk a little bit about Road Atlanta. It's got speed, it's got rhythm, it's got some great spots for passing, and it's got that fear factor in so many places. In other words, no wonder, we come here season after season, DJ.
Oh, most certainly. It's one of the best racing venues in all of North America, from the absolutely fearsome brush-breaking turn and rise up the hill that is Turn 1 to the plunge down through the S's, the ever perilous Turn 5, and then the run down the backstretch to where we look right now through 10A and 10B, which is really going to be your best overtaking place on this track. It's going to be absolutely fantastic, and really watch out for the slipstream to play a big, big part here in both the GR86 and down in the Jettas as well, because these relatively lower powered cars with not a lot of downforce working on them, they're going to be able to suck up behind a whole lot in the draft going down this back straightaway.
Yeah, that huge run out of turn number 7 onto the back straight, it runs forever. and gives such an opportunity for cars to lock into the draft in that heavy braking zone. But let's do this, TJ. Why don't we turn things over, as we've been doing each and every week this season, turn things over to Morgan Burkhardt from Delta Sport. He's going to give us tonight's track guide of Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta.
Hello everyone, my name is Morgan Burkhardt for Delta Sport US, and tonight I take you of the sprawling 2.5 mile 12 turn track of Road Atlanta. I'm nestled in the heart of Georgia. So you come across the start finish line, gonna hold track left, looking for the old pit out to use a little bit more entry for the very fast cambered turn 1, letting the car float, just using all the track possible, coming up over the blind crest of turn 2 into turn 3, last bit on the curb, then turning in, bouncing all over the curbs, getting the car to come track left and center of the track so we can come down the S's going up to turn 5, just straight line it as much as possible. Again, using all the curbs into turn 5, getting them to just bounce a little bit, using all the track that we can possibly get. And now you get a little bit of a break after the very busy first half of the lap, and the very important corners coming up now with turn 6, keeping it tight as we can, coming out using all the track, getting them back up on these curbs again. Now the most important corner at turn 7, late apex, coming out again on those exit curbs and using all the track that we can. The most important corner on the track. If you can do that corner well, you will be fine for the races. If you can get a good exit, you have a much better chance of either passing or not being passed going into 10A, which is the best passing zone on the track. So you definitely get a big old break coming from turn 7 down 8 and 9 on this straight coming into 10A. Looking for your braking point just after the line on the pavement, abusing track limits at 10A, kind of flowing through, using all the curbs, abusing track limits as much as you can, coming over the crest of the hill, coming really steep down the hill into 12, just keeping the car tight, letting it flow out and using the curb on the exit, and there's a lap of Road Atlanta for Ray Esports Racing.
All right, thanks so much to Morgan Burkhardt for tonight's track guide of Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. And so, DJ, as we are now almost 9 minutes into this 15-minute qualifying, we're on board right now with 2 more of Morgan's teammates from Delta Sport. We've got Caleb Patry and Giancarlo Schooler here, and they are obviously working together in that GR86 class, sitting right up at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, and doing a great job of it. This is what I would have expected here from a little bit of teammate cooperation. You see that move off to the side, allowing for drivers to be able to get their way on by. That is that draft cooperation. That's going to probably gain them, at minimum, about 0.4 of a second per lap, being able to work together like that, Greg. It's some very, very smart heads up, and I would not be surprised here if we see Schooler maybe jump up to the top of the charts right now as he crosses over the line.
All right, let's see here as they come across the stripe. And times in the books now. Giancarlo Schooler runs his new personal best, a 134.80. So he knocks a lot of time off of his previous lap, but still not quite close enough to Caleb Patry, who is sitting there, as you can see, a 134.61 in the and we've got Miles Brown now with 135.72. So he's starting to close things down as well. And if we take a look now over at the Jettas, and as the Morgan Burkhardt, who is currently our provisional pole sitter in the Jettas, took an early exit with the access road there. He has a fast time of 136.73. Jamison Huffman at a 136.87. So what about 1,400, 1,500 of a second up on Huffman. Skip Brock Jr. currently your 3rd fastest driver at a 137.07. And you'll see them there. You can see on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen. Obviously, we've got the Toyota logos and the VW logos, so you know which is which. When we start this race, we should have the Toyotas separated out from the Jettas, so it'll allow each of our 2 classes to get in some really good racing without getting all mixed up. We've found that the Jettas do have very good straight line speed. But as you can imagine, those front-wheel drive cars not quite as sticky through the corners, BJ, as the GR86s.
No, certainly not. And as we ride on board now with Andrew Wozencroft, the other thing to keep in mind about those GR86s is that rear spoiler there. That's going to generate a decent amount of downforce for these cars, so they're going to have some more rear-end grip coming through the corners, and that's going to help them be a little bit faster through the twisty bits and probably able to brake just a hair later than those Jettas, as we now watch Wozencroft coming across the line, going to jump up here to Robertson. He's going to get a nice little toe off of some Jettas in front of him, and that may be able to help his time for P7 overall.
Yeah, that should help, as those big boxes will pull him along the back straight. And you said it there, the GR86s, they've got the wings. They definitely help keep the rear end planted in some of these, especially some of the higher speed corners. The Jettas, the challenge is always actually, as they are front wheel drive cars, to get them to rotate and act more like a rear wheel drive car coming through the corners here, and not to just get that terminal push, which is definitely a challenge, as we can see there, as the 215 machine of Robertson makes a good run. And we're on board right now with Megan Overstreet. But real quick, DJs, we're running down on time here. Let's quickly take a look back. The last race for our Jettas and for the Toyota GR86s was 2 weeks ago at Sonoma Raceway, where they ran their third race of the season. And in the GR86s, taking the win was Caleb Patry, with his teammate Giancarlo Schooler finishing in second. And as we said, that's pretty much how the order is set provisionally for the moment here, with 2 minutes left to go in qualifying. Murphy Nichols managed to come home in third, with Miles Brown from Team Brown and Andrew Wozencroft rounding out the top five. And if we take a look at the point standings currently, here it is Caleb Patry currently sitting atop the order here with 77 points. Giancarlo Schooler now only 14 points back with 63. And then we've got Murphy Nichols, who's sitting back third in the points right now with a distant 48 points, and he's got Andrew Wozencroft nipping at his heels, only 2 points back. Then we've got Jim Brewster currently sitting fifth in the championship. If we take a look at the Jettas, now taking the win after he had some issues on track, and I know he was a little bit under the weather, but our pole sitter was Morgan Burkhardt. We'll just cut to the chase right now. He finished off the podium, where Tom Pendergrass, longtime Jetta driver here in the iRacing platform, took the win. Started 7th overall. It was a great run for Thomas. Reed Shannabrook, who started 6th, came home in 2nd. Matthew Snow from Team Snow started in 8th. He took the last step on the podium, and then it was Burkhardt and Megan Overstreet. Overstreet started 11th and finished in 5th position. Great run for her as well. Look at that drift, DJ, coming out of turn 7 onto the back straight there. Certainly not the fast way. Actually, I guess that was through turn 1. Not through turn 7, definitely not the fast way around. But if we take a look at the point standings now in the Jettas, Morgan Burkhardt is still your points leader. He's got a 3-point advantage over Beans Forster, and then it's another 20 points back until you get to Michael Snow and Seth Spolman with 33 points. And Spolman has got Trenton Kramer there right on his heels, only a single point back. And Frank Schwartz from Grass Paddock Motorsports is sitting not too far back in 6th. And I guess DJ, real quick, is the checkered flag is out, and we've got a special guest that's going to be joining us for the race. I guess we'll just mention Grass Paddock has graciously offered up 2 arrive and drive packages, one to a non-race licensed driver to use at a competition driver school or an HPDE type session in one of his B-Spec minis, and then one for a licensed competition driver with SCCA or another organization for them to go racing in B-Spec. A great offer from Grass Paddock Motorsports that is going to be awarded at the end of the calendar year. Stevie Ray from Ray Esports, myself, and also Frank Schwartz will make the decision on who wins those prizes. Again, that is going to extend all the way through the end of the calendar year.
Yeah, some great prizes there on offer, and massive thank you there to Grass Paddock for being able to provide that. We watch as the last couple of drivers come across the line. Joshua Justice, I don't think he's going to be able to get a final lap in here. I think this may just be a little bit of what you talked about earlier, Greg, building that rhythm as much as possible, as that is such a crucial part to really nailing this Road Atlanta circuit.
Yeah, we can see there as he's getting all the curb and maybe a little bit more coming through that heavily cambered, coming out of turn 6 and then through turn 7. That is the most critical corner here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, because it leads you on to this very long back straight. And as you mentioned, I think with that move over the curbing, probably not going to set a fast lap here, as we're watching Murphy Nichols, who finished on the podium at Sonoma on his last flying lap. We'll see if he can get this lap in before they end the session in the number 5 machine. He is looking to improve upon the 135.99 that he set previously, and he's just going to bring the car into the pit lane. So it looks like his qualifying session is now done. All right, so we should have the grid here forming up in just a second. And indeed, DJ, we're going to be splitting up the Toyotas and the Jettas. If you want to take the Toyotas, I'll grab the starting order for the Jettas when you're done.
All right, well, lining up in pole position, it is going to be Caleb Patry there with a time of 1:34.605, and just about 0.2 of a second off him will be Giancarlo Schooler to his outside. Then it's going to be Miles Brown and Kyle Robertson, followed by Deacon Greenfield and Murphy Nichols. In row 4, it'll be Andrew Rosencroft with John Wilson to his outside. Bob Kucera and Nagasa Yoshikawa lines up to round out your top 10. Then it's Caleb Pocock in 11th place, followed by Charlie Vaccaro in 12th. 13th is going to be Joshua Justice, with Mark Sherman flanking him. Wayne Buttermore lines up in 15th, and then it's Charles Bailey rounding out your 16-car Toyota field.
All right, starting 17th overall, and your pole sitter in the Jetta TDI Cup cars is Morgan Burkhardt. Starting right next to him will be Jamison Huffman in row number 2. We've got Skip Brock Jr., a Spec Miata racer in real life, with Beans Forster lining up just to his outside. Reed Chanabrook, he's going to start in 6th, with Seth Spolman starting in 7th, coming all the way from Seoul, South Korea. Then we've got Michael Snow. He is going to start in 7th position, with Stephen Blethen starting in 8th. Starting 9th is going to be Reed Chanabrook, is going to be Trenton Kramer with Felix Borodati, and then we've got Jacob Schilling and Megan Overstreet, Jeff Andrews, Joaquin Effinger, and the back row tonight is going to be Brian Prokoff and Matthew Snow, rounding out that very large field. And they're going to be making their way around 12 turn 2.54 mile Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta for the start. And so quickly here, let's talk about Grass Paddock Motorsports. And as we mentioned earlier, they provide Mini Cooper race car rentals, trackside support, and coaching at tracks all over the eastern half of the country. GPM provides podium-capable rentals for B-Spec, the fastest-growing class of racing in the SCCA for 3 years running, and the 4th largest class overall. Grass Paddock has a unique approach where their race cars are located near the track you want to race at instead of being in a central location, and that way you get to avoid those large towing fees. Come join Grass Paddock Motorsports, where Grass Paddock is not about our location, but about our attitude. For more information, visit grasspaddock.com. And so, DJ, now that we've talked about Grass Paddock, of course, we've got another sponsor for tonight's race, and coming on as a sponsor with the Ray Esports Racing League this season is Common Gear, and we have Jeff Lavery from Common Gear here with us tonight. And Jeff, we're going to have Jeff in at least for a good portion of this race as we get things underway. But Jeff, welcome to the Ray Esports Racing League, and thank you so much for sponsoring us this season.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here, and really excited to talk to you guys about theCommonGear.com.
Yeah, and so as we've got this pace lap still working on the back street, why don't you tell us a little bit about it? Of course, we've mentioned during the spots that we run here, Jeff, you know, that the Common Gear is a website primarily for automotive enthusiasts to be able to track the status of their cars that they own, whether it be changes that they make to the cars, you know, keeping records of the cars, maybe setup changes, what have you. Is that what the service is for?
Exactly right. You know, one of the big challenges you see, right, is there are a lot of gaps in this space for automotive enthusiasts. So if you're, if you have a track car, your logbooks oftentimes have been sort of a hard copy format. So this is a great way to digitize those records. So from a safety standpoint, from a lifetime improvement standpoint, you can easily scan in vital records about when critical milestones were achieved as far as annual maintenance for a car used in competitive settings. And then also, if you have a vehicle that is more of a, maybe kind of a quasi-investment piece, we've all heard the story of having, perform the work or having a specialist shop do some work on a vehicle and then the records go missing, and it's hard to, convince a potential buyer that the work has been done. So, my partner and I come from both sides of this. My partner is, had an E46 coupe that he uses as his track car. I, started out autocrossing and got more into the preservation side of things. But in either case, we saw this need that, Carfax obviously doesn't get anywhere close to the level of granularity that car enthusiasts value in their vehicles. And then, saying in a similar vein, there's really no solution out there right now for that, digitizing those records that becomes so vital as the cars get older. So you're absolutely on the money that's where we come into this process.
All right, real quick here, Jeff, let's jump in here because we've taken the green flag, and Caleb Patry's jumped out to an early lead in the Toyotas. We've got a car off track, had issues over at turn 7. That was Charles Vaccaro who's gone around. But also it looks like, DJ, and hopefully we'll see a replay of that in just a second here, but we also saw where not a huge gap to start this race off from the back of the Toyota field to the Jettas, and Morgan Burkhardt and the rest of that Jetta field already up to the back of the Toyotas. That's going to make for some very challenging racing here as we watch Charles Vaccaro come out of the final, come out of turn 7 and just loop the rear, and it didn't even look like he dropped the wheel, DJ.
No, I think that may have been a little bit of an issue where he got onto the throttle a little bit too hard on cold tires and may have just spun those rear tires around, and that's what caused him to loop. I do want to give a little bit of credit here to Miles Brown, who was able to make the move on Giancarlo Schooler off of the line. He was able to put himself in great position, but a good battle that we're focusing on right now. Yoshikawa, Wilson, Kucera all duking it out. Some trouble back down in the Jettas, though.
All right, yeah, we can see coming down the hill there and going off was that, I think that was Seth Spallman in the 42 machine experiencing problems, and he is now dropping back through the pack as he is just trying to get things back underway. We're watching now Skip Brock trying to deal with Wayne Buttermore and his Toyota just ahead of him, and we can see already where this interclass racing is starting to get a little wild and woolly here very early on.
Yeah, very much so. As here we see that big incident in front. The 42 there just trying to take avoiding action, tries to get out to the outside, and that's going to be enough to be able to put him into the outside barriers, taking some damage there to that machine. Now we're going to jump up here and take a look at exactly what happened to Brock. A little bit of calamity farther back down in the order going through turn 1, and when you try to go too wide up through 2 and 3, that's exactly what happens to you.
Yeah, it tightens up there, and it's a blind corner, and you can see the number 42 machine getting caught up in the tail end of that incident, maybe just trying to avoid, but always a challenge is and that is a hard hit coming out of the final corner. That was Nagase Yoshikawa. They're coming down the hill, coming through turn 12, and it looked, DJ, that is one we want to see the replay on because it looked like he just never slowed down. Let's take a look and see what happens as he comes up the hill.
Yeah, it
under
looked
the
like
Fox Factory Bridge.
A little bit of contact there but forced a driver off in front, and that was just an avoiding action that he had nowhere to go.
Yeah, it looked like Murphy Nichols was severely off the pace, and there was another car directly ahead of Murphy Nichols as well. Yeah, and Yoshikawa just trying to avoid running into another vehicle, goes wildly off course. And so at the moment here, Patry with about a 1.5 advantage, or 2.5 seconds advantage on the rest of the Toyota field, and we're watching Morgan Burkhardt now starting to stretch things out over the 231 machine of Beans Forster as they come through turn 6 and through that over top of that heavy curb at turn 7 and onto the back straight. But you can also see now that Reed Shanabrook in that number 14 car is locked right to the rear of Beans Forster. He's going to try and draft him all the way down. He may not have enough in the draft, DJ, to be able to step to the inside and pass, but he'll at least should be able to draft right up to the back. But as we're watching that, Jeff. So obviously you were telling us a little bit about Common Gear, and you know, we were talking a little bit before the broadcast tonight, and I kind of likened it to, you know, you have people that you know try to sell their classic cars or their cars with provenance, and they, you know, part of that process is they've got the, you know, the 1.5 foot tall stack of papers of all the service records and everything that's been done to the car to make sure that it is, you know, still as pristine as the day it came off the showroom floor. Is that something that the Common Gear would be useful for or helpful for?
100%, and as you've seen in the rise of the digital auction world with the likes of Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, you know, it's sort of more important than ever to have a digital representation of that vehicle. And so, whether you're selling it via that format or just selling it in person, what we're set up to do is that users can go to thecommongear.com, they can create a free account, and they can start loading in their records of you know, value. And again, that could be for, you know, a car used for track usage, where you simply want to document your expenses. Perhaps it's a tax write-off at the end of the year, what have you. It's great just for that personal use, but as you said, it's also particularly useful for when it comes time to sell a car. You're not scrambling to find those records that have gone missing right at, you know, the worst time. And you know, we also offer it as sort of a concierge service. If you're someone who's got a large collection of vehicles, we'll actually come on site. We'll do all the scanning on there and create a portal for you that's tied to your VIN number. So, you know, that's you know, I think like a lot of us aspire to that level of obsession, but certainly we know we're set up to do it either way. And you know, we're car enthusiasts ourselves, obviously, and use it for all of our own things. And yeah, we're eager to have folks use it and try it out and let us know what they think. But you're on the money about how we intend for it to be used.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I guess as we were talking, you know, one of the other thoughts, and we obviously have a lot of racers, not only virtual racers, but a lot of the folks that are racing the Esports Racing League, or maybe family members or friends that are watching are racers in real life. And one of the things that I thought of, you know, was certainly that you could use this as we're talking about documenting purchases and what have you for the cars. Yeah. You know, as you're building a race car, you know, many of these cars have customizations that are, you know, that are singularly tied to that particular car, and maybe nobody else in the field, even with the same chassis, has done the types of things to the car that you have. And it's a great way, you know, if you've got special parts on the car, you know, to be able to, you know, maybe a year down the line when that part needs to be replaced or it's been damaged due to an incident, you know, to be able to go back through your records and find out where you bought it from, who you bought it from, etc.
Exactly, and listen, we're all in, you know, as far as our addiction here, we're not unlike airline pilots, right? Where you have to have logbooks that prove you've made critical safety improvements and things to make that car track worthy. That when it comes time for the season to start, there's no question about what's been done. So whether you're taking photos of the work or you have a specialist shop doing the work, either way, a digital version of those improvements, those adjustments, all of that is critical towards really, you know, having that car be as turnkey as possible, both from, you know, for your own edification, but also if you're, you know, confirming with a track steward or what have you. So,
all right, real quick, Jeff, before we let you go, just going to take a look here. This is the battle for the lead in the Jettas, DJ, and whatever advantage Morgan Burkhardt had built up, you can see what the draft will do for you here. As it is now battle on between Morgan Burkhardt, Beans Forster. We've also got Jamison Huffman and I think Reed Shannabrook in the fight here as well.
Yeah, everybody really getting involved in that. You saw just how close they were going side by side coming up the hill. Thankfully there, Shannabrook actually was able to get ahead there of Brock and be able to put his way around through. And that's going to allow for a little bit of running here. Excuse me, that was Justin Huffman that was actually able to get ahead of Reed Shannabrook. But now I think it's going to be Huffman in the catbird seat here if he can keep close coming through 6 and 7.
Yeah, and as those four cars up at the front continue to fight, you can see they are starting to pull in. Skip Brock, also Felix Bordati a little bit further back, but also Kyle Robertson, who is one of our Toyota 86 drivers, and you can see he's definitely going to use that draft to pull him down the front straight, hopefully get back up towards Bob Kucera, who is running in 7th position in the Toyotas. as they are now side by side coming down the back straight, heading towards turn 10A as they dip down that hill. Wow, and is Huffman going to make it 3 wide? It is. It's 3 wide under braking going into 10A. Burkhardt to driver's left, Huffman to driver's right, and the sandwich beans Forster. And look at the move by Huffman, taking a commanding lead, DJ.
Yeah, very, very commanding, just able to muscle his way around, but we're still going to be side by side right now between Beans and Burkhardt here as they come down through the corner. That's Forster down to the inside, and it looks like there that's going to be Burkhardt getting a little bit of a bump from behind from Shannabrook. Is that going to catch out Beans Forster? Contact, they're going to go spinning off.
And there you go. So Forster goes off, Shannabrook goes off. That is now going to move. Believe that is going to move Skip Brock Jr. now up into second place, and big changes there at the front of the field. But real quick, Jeff, because I know you've got some big family obligations coming up, I want to let you go. Again, if our viewers want to take advantage of the Common Gear, how do they get a hold of you, and how do they sign up for the service?
So you just hop over to thecommongear.com. There's a easy registration link right on the homepage. You can reach me, Jeff at thecommongear.com. That's Jeff at thecommongear.com. And I'm also reachable via the site. Happy to walk anybody through it if they want to explore it, but we just encourage you to sign up. It's free again, and you can start uploading documentation, photos, etc., and start tracking your cars and your investments.
Very cool. Thank you so much to Jeff Lavery from the Common Gear. Thank you so much for sponsoring the Ray Esports Racing League. And again, I urge all of our viewers to take advantage of this wonderful service. Thanks again, Jeff.
Thank you.
And there you go. That was Jeff Lavery from the Common Gear. And well, this battle never rests here, DJ, as Morgan Burkhardt has found his way back to the front of the field, and he's now got Skip Brock Jr. tailing along.
Yeah, all over the back of them here, almost getting a little bit of a bump draft as they go down into turn 1. That's a strategy that we've seen employed a couple of times here over the course of the running. As it looks like now that Robertson is going to insert himself into this equation in that number 215 GR86 as he wants to try to move his way forward.
Yeah, it looks like he has been sitting back and patiently watching and waiting and trying to not get in the middle of this fight. And as Huffman had dropped back just a little bit, he did. But let's go take a look back to the previous lap in that incident with Shannabrook and Beans Forster as they came through turn number 1 and started to run up the hill.
Yeah, it looks like there the Reed got into the back of Morgan Burkhardt. That checked up Burkhardt slightly, and then that put him offline. A little bit of side-by-side for Shannabrook and just not really able to control the car. And unfortunately, it looked like Beans Forster just a hapless passenger in all of that.
Yeah, as they kind of hooked, and it brought Forster over driver's left into the grass as we jump over. This is now the battle for 4th position in the GR86s, and we've got Deacon Greenfield, John Wilson in the blue and white machine, and then Andrew Wozencroft in the number 80 car, all in a line. You can see a little bit further up the road is Miles Brown. He's in the 333 car, and that Brown currently sitting on the last step of the podium as these 3 drivers, at least for the time being, DJ, I think they've got the plan here. Is they're not really fighting it out. I think they're just trying to draft and work together to get up towards Miles Brown instead of maybe throwing away a shot at a podium position with still 7 minutes remaining.
Yeah, and I think that's a good call from them here, Greg. All of this fighting that we've seen really down through the field has done nothing but to put some of these drivers off. And of course, as soon as we say that, here comes John Wilson taking a look down to the inside, going into turn 6. He's going to back off of it pretty smartly there. That's a pretty tricky braking zone to make it work. But if he wants to make this move, now is the time to do it. Off of 7 onto the backstretch in the run into turn 10A.
Yeah, theoretically, you need to be alongside and really past the driver going into turn 6, into that camber turn 6, because if you're still side by side coming out of 6 and going into 7, you're going to have no exit speed coming onto the back straight, and usually the 3rd car in line ends up with a huge advantage.
Yeah, exactly, and it does look like Wozencroft's going to be able to get that. Not going to poke his nose to the inside. He's going to opt to stay in line, and these three are going to stay in single file order. But I got to tell you, Caleb Patry at the front of the field right here, pulling a very impressive gap and setting the fastest lap of the race here on lap number 9.
Yeah, and we saw this in qualifying when the only time that Schooler could stay close is when he was locked in Patry's draft, and Patry was pretty much pulling him around the course, but just hasn't been able to keep up the pace here during the race. And it's not all that much unlike what we saw at Sonoma, DJ, a couple weeks ago, where Patry managed to take the win over Carlos Schooler by almost 6.5 seconds. So I think we're seeing a bit of a repeat here that for all of the challenges that the drivers talk about with these GR86s, the extreme weight transfer, the issue with the braking, although with the update from iRacing here that came online today, there have been some minor changes to brake application and how the ABS works on these cars, but Patry just seems to have a much better handle on it than really anybody else in the field.
Yeah, and that's proving out here. And I'm a little bit surprised to see Schooler so far back. I mean, 14 seconds. When we think of Sonoma, Patry and Schooler were really able to run away up at the front of the field, and the gap wasn't this big between the two of them. So I've got to give some credit here to Miles Brown for keeping up the fight to the back of Giancarlo and really keeping this alive here for the second place. But we've got that battle that we were watching a little bit earlier. Here comes Wilson down to the inside of Deacon Greenfield. Not going to play itself out. Maybe he can force an error coming through 10B. Not going to happen there. And now Wilson's got to watch out because Wozencroft is looking hungry behind him.
Yeah, indeed. And it looked like Wilson got onto the brakes maybe actually quite a bit earlier than Greenfield did, going down in the 10A from the inside there, and gave up a little bit of ground. Now, we were talking about Giancarlo Schooler being almost 14 seconds back. On his previous lap, well, this lap here, he and Miles Brown running almost identical times, but the previous lap, Schooler had run a 1:46, almost 11 seconds off of his normal pace. So there was definitely an incident there, a little bobble from him.
It sounds like here we're going to go back and check out a replay. This is Caleb Pocock. This is a pretty hefty incident from what I understand, coming down to the braking zone for turn 1. Now up in front of him, catches it wrong, and then we've got a Jetta flying up into the air. That's the number 18.
Yep, and that is the 18 machine that goes for the wild ride. That is Mark Sherman, and it should not be any surprise now that Mark Sherman finds himself on the pit lane. We're trying to get into the pit lane and get that car serviced. There he is as he finally gets to his pit box. But look at this battle here as Wozencroft locked to the back of John Wilson. Wozencroft now is going to poke to the inside, trying to pick up a position from Wilson, move up into 5th position. Cannot get the car deep enough under braking on the 82 machine, and is going to have to be content to stay in 6th as they come under the Fox Factory Bridge and complete lap number 11.
Yeah, I've got to give a lot of credit here to John Wilson. We have seen him be very defensive. We have seen him be very offensive, but out of all of that, he has not lost a position. It's a very impressive drive from him, and it's one that I think really deserves some credit here. But as we watch right now, Bean Sporster working on the back of Skip Brock Jr., trying to see if there's something to play. This is the battle up for P2.
All right, and it sounds like, because remember that Forster had that issue a couple laps ago, and he had, it sounds like Skip Brock may have had some issues. So let's take a look and see exactly what plays out here. Yeah, looks like Skip Brock found his way to the grass and lost a little pace there and allowed Beans Forster to pull right up, as we now have just a touch over a minute remaining here, and we're gonna track here as we go back to live action and watch Forster continue to hound the number 68 machine. That is the battle right now for 3rd in the Jettas, as we take a look in the battle for 2nd in the Jettas, as Miles Brown is now pulled up right to the back of Giancarlo Schooler as they go into 10A here, DJ, and I think we may, when they come under the Fox Factory Bridge, they will be starting their white flag lap, as I'm fairly certain Caleb Patry has started his in the lead.
Yes, indeed, and a little bit of a bump draft there from Schooler to the back of Brown. I don't know if that was a bump draft or a bump and run, but it was definitely a little bit of a check one way or the other. Now Schooler's going to try to go around the outside of turn one. Going to play out, looks for the crossover. These two have got to be careful. We've talked about what can happen when you go too wide into turns 2 and 3. Thankfully, they're going to sort themselves out here, but I've got a feeling that this battle's going to keep raging until we get down to the checkered flag.
Indeed, and we are on the last lap here for Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. We're watching this battle for second in the GR86s as Caleb Patry's got almost a 17-second advantage. He's on the back straight now, working his way to the checkered flag. But this has definitely gotten racy in the last 2 laps, as now there are only 4 more corners for Giancarlo Schooler to retake second place as they come under braking into turn 7, come onto the back straight. And obviously here, DJ, the best opportunity is going to be one of the last ones available to Giancarlo Schooler. It's going to be under braking at the end of this straightaway going into turn 10A.
Yeah, but I've got to tell you, 0.3 of a second, it's starting to come down here. That may be a little bit too little too late. I take that back. Schooler going to be able to get a great tow here. Going defensive is Brown. Schooler tries to look down to the inside, but Brown's going to carry that all the way to the grass, and it looks like Patry's about to cross the line.
All right, Patry, there you go, for taking another win, and I believe Caleb Patry has run the table so far in the GR86s. He takes the win with Miles Brown coming down the hill. Can he hold off Giancarlo Schooler in the 111 car? Schooler cuts to the inside, but that finish line so close, coming out of 12. Was the crash worth it? It was. Miles Brown, margin of victory, 9/100ths of a second, 91 thousandths. Wow, and here we go. Morgan Burkhart comes out of 10A and 10B for the last time, and he's got clear sailing as he comes down the hill. Morgan Burkhart will take the win in the Jetta TDI Cups. Finishing second will be Jamison Huffman in that orange number 89 machine, coming home in third. Whoa! Maybe, you know, I'm starting to think that maybe Huffman had enough of Mark Sherman there right in the middle of that race. Pardon me, coming home in third in the Jettas is going to be Felix Borodati, with Beans Forster finishing just off the podium. Good recovery for him. He will finish in 4th. Then we've got Reed Shannabrook and Michael Snow as well. But great run here in both classes.
Yeah, a great run there for them. Some really close battling up and down the field, Greg. Just goes to show you that we didn't undersell Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. It certainly lived up to the expectations here. I absolutely love it.
All right, let's see here. Waiting to see if we get any of our drivers to come into the green room here, but let's recap the finish here. Again, Patry, Brown, Schooler, Greenfield, Wozencroft, your top 5 in the GR86s. Morgan Burkhart finishing right behind Bob Cusera on track. He was your winner in the Jettas, with Jamison Huffman finishing in second. Felix Borodati, Beans Forster, Reed Shannabrook, and Michael Snow rounding out your top 5. All right, we've got a bunch of Jetta drivers here sitting in the green room right now. And unless we've got, well, we've had Miles Brown show up. So let's do this. Let's bring in Morgan Burkhart, our winner in the Jettas, and then we'll see who we have in the GR86s. Here we go. Morgan Burkhart, driver the number 40 Delta Sport Jetta, your winner in TDI Cup.
Morgan, a great drive there out for you. You had to fight a little bit at the beginning to be able to try to push your way forward, but then once that was done, you were able to get yourself on forward. Had got to be a good feeling here.
Yeah, for sure. It was, I think we ended up going like 4 wide under the bridge on like lap 2 or something like that. We ended up sorting everything out and coming out okay, but it was for sure a little bit difficult in the beginning, trying to navigate through traffic and trying to stay in front of everybody and run my own pace. But after that, we kind of got split up a little bit from racing and getting mixed up with GR86s. So after that, it was kind of just head down, go out and drive and do some laps.
Well, how was it to be able to run that? I mean, it was pretty difficult for you to be able to, I have to imagine, be right in the middle of all of that action with the GR86s. Does that change the way you drive a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to kind of predict where everybody else is going to be right in front of you. It's a lot more variables because with Jetta on Jetta action, it's super easy to predict because everybody has the same like amount of grip. They have the same power, they have the same weight, so they can do all the same things through corners. But when you add GR86s in there, it's a completely different car that makes speed so much differently that you have to think about two different cars at the same time and what they're doing through corners so you can predict where they're going to end up and where you're going to end up. So it's definitely more difficult to race it, but it's a lot of fun because it's so much more variables. It's a lot more complex.
Well, you certainly did a good job with it. I want to just ask you, are we looking for some more wins over the course of the year? Is that what the goal is?
Well, for sure. I mean, I'd love to just win all of the rest of the races. It'd be awesome. But yeah, I think a goal is to win a few more before the season's over.
All right, well, we wish you all the best of luck there, Morgan, and we'll let you get ready here for the MX-5 race coming on up.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Morgan Burkhardt, our winner tonight in the TDI Cups. Let's bring in somebody that I don't think we've spoken to yet this season, DJ, and that is Miles Brown. Miles finishing second tonight in the GR86s.
Miles, an amazing run there for you. I want to talk to you about the beginning of the races. You were really able to just send it up the inside of Schooler and make that move work. What was going through your head off the start?
Man, I really just wanted to win this race. I felt like my pace in practice was better than my pace in qualifying, so I was really disappointed with my qualifying, but yeah, definitely was just trying to be as aggressive as possible if I could and just, you know, try to jump these guys because I know they're pretty quick, but definitely had a little incident with one of the other guys too, which gave us a little bit of damage, which hurt our straight line speed, but it seemed like he made a mistake and we were back in competition, so I just gave it everything I could and we made it work for a second, but yeah, definitely worked out pretty well.
Yeah, worked out pretty well for you. And then the battle going on later in the race, were you worried coming down into turn 10? Obviously, you took it all the way to the grass coming down there. How much of a defense were you really having to put up there against Giancarlo on the run to the line?
It was definitely tough. I mean, especially since I think my car was a bit slower. I just was, you could probably tell I was a little desperate, but I just needed to get this result. Especially for the sponsors, Tin Flat Detailing, Drive Trainer Academy, and Chocolate Dandies. I wanted to, you know, perform for them and let them know that we're pushing for them. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it just aggression was this race's theme for sure.
Well, we'll let you refocus and get back into aggressive nature because I'm sure we're going to see you out in these MX-5s here in just a few minutes' time.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Miles. There you go. Miles Brown finishing second tonight in the GR86s. And so, DJ, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. Thanks to our partners and sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to have our second race of the evening here. It is going to be the Spec Miatas, the Global MX-5 Cup cars here from Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, where you're watching the what season is this? It's like season 400, I think. No, but it is the 2023 winter season of the Ray Esports Racing League, and we'll be right back. All right, and we are back here at Michelin Raceway for not season 400, but season number 8, the winter season of the Esports Racing League. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with DJ Clark, and a great Jetta race that we just saw, and once again, Caleb Patry, walking away from it. And I think back to, I think it was the Mid-Ohio race where he says, I don't want to be interviewed if I was basically driving all by myself the whole race. So, well, there you go, as he had like about a 17-second advantage on the rest of the field. But we are now about 8 minutes into the qualifying for the Spec Miatas here. Fastest driver on course at the moment is Morgan Burkhardt with a 1:35.2, almost 3/4 of a second clear of Beans Forster with a 1:35.78. Then Giancarlo Schooler, Murphy Nichols, Jamison Huffman, your top 5 drivers, and maybe a little bit of a surprise that we see some other for example, well, it looks like Caleb Patry is maybe just now heading out on track for qualifying. I'm going to say a little surprised that we find him all the way back there as we. That's a neat little spin coming down the hill, coming down towards turn 10. I think that was Bob Kucera in the 48 machine possibly that had gone around, but we'll see there, DJ.
Yeah, we'll see indeed as we continue to have times ticking down on the board. Morgan Burkhardt putting down an even faster time there, but 1:34.833, almost a full second faster than Beans Forster.
Wow. Just, we talked about during the track guide tonight how he was hustling that car around, and he is doing it again. That lap there, unfortunately, is, I think, going to get invalidated, but yeah, he is absolutely hustling that MX-5 around. So real quick here, DJ, let's take a look back. We've got our Spec Racer Fords taking the week off. They had their 4th race of the season last week at Barber Motorsports Park, and the aforementioned Morgan Burkhardt took the win over Miles Brown, margin of victory, 54/100ths of a second. Nagase Yoshikawa came home in 3rd, and then Brad Gould and Megan Overstreet rounded out the top 5. And we take a look now, and again, we will see the Spec Racer Fords next week at Watkins Glen. It is Morgan Burkhardt with a very commanding 101 points here in the championship. Well, those are the MX-5 points. Let's bring up the Spec Racer Ford points, John, if we can. No problem. I'm a button pusher myself. There you go. Morgan Burkhardt with 101 points. Megan Overstreet currently sitting 2nd in the championship with 71. Only 3 points separating her from Beans Forster, then Andrew Wozencroft and Jim Brewster. And as opposed to the Jettas and Caleb Patry excluded in the GR86s, pretty wide stretch going back to the Spec Racer Ford field here after 4 races. You can see a little bit further down in the field, starting in, say, 10th position or so, only like single point separating drivers. Now, if we take a look at Spec Miata, Morgan Burkhardt took the win last week at Barber, so 2 races, 2 wins for Burkhardt. Margin of victory, 1/1500ths of a second over Giancarlo Schooler. So he won those 2 races, but he didn't win by a lot, maybe 6500ths of a second between the 2 races. DJ Alessandrini, who joined us last week, was your 3rd place runner, took the bronze. Good to see DJ again. I think the only previous time we'd seen DJ was at Sonoma last season, where he just jumped into a Formula 4 car for the very first time, I think, and wiped the rest of the field. Nagase Yoshikawa finished 4th. Beans Forster finished in 5th. And now if we take a look at the points in Spec Miata, it is Giancarlo Schooler with a 2-point advantage currently over Morgan Burkhardt. Oddly enough here, Schooler with 1 win and Burkhardt with 2 wins. Yet Schooler still eking past Burkhardt on the points. Beans Forster sitting 15 points back from Burkhardt with 51, and then another 12 points back to Wozencroft with Lewis Lockshine 5th in the championship. And things look a little tighter here in Spec Miata maybe than the Spec Racer Fords, DJ.
Yeah, they certainly do. Good running there, and really with the exception of that massive gap up the front of the field with Morgan Burkhardt, we're going to see some close gaps here out on track as well, as it is a very, very close field from second on back. Watching right now as Yoshikawa is going to cross over the line, and that's going to be good enough to bump him up into P4.
Wow, look at that. Great run for Yoshikawa, and Yoshikawa after that, after having to take evasive action at turn 12 in the first race tonight, I'm sure he's hoping for something that's maybe a little less drama filled here. As again, he moves now up into fourth in the qualifying order here, right behind Giancarlo Schooler, and only about 0.08 of a second separating Yoshikawa and Schooler. Schooler has taken the car off track and into the pit lane. So whereas Yoshikawa maybe can get one more flying lap in here, looks like Schooler is going to try and hold station, try to hold on to that fourth position.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to try to hold on to that here for the time being. We watch Andrew Rosencroft right now bringing his way out of turn 7. Now, I've got to think here Rosencroft may find himself at a little bit of a disadvantage. We talked about the draft and how much that can play when we talked about the Jettas and the GR86s. It's going to be just as effective here in these MX-5s. And Rosencroft, as you can see, running in an island unto himself. So he is not going to have that benefit here on his, what looks like probably final lap.
Yeah, indeed. These open-top Mazdas, they put off a big pocket of dirty air behind them, and very easy to get caught in the slipstream and just get pulled along the back straight here at Road Atlanta. And Rosencroft just doesn't have that drafting partner that could help him oh so much here in qualifying. As we watch Caleb Patry in the 198 machine. You know, again, we were a little surprised he maybe didn't go out as early as Burkhardt. Maybe wasn't working together with his teammate Morgan Burkhardt. Right now, Caleb Patry with less than 30 seconds remaining on the clock on what will essentially be his very last flying lap. He is currently qualified 19th in the field. And look at this, DJ. Reed Shanabrook, driver of the number 14 machine, as he's heading up the hill towards over towards turn number 3. He just turned in the second fastest lap of the session. He did a 1:35.78. That's still almost a full second off of Morgan Burkhardt, but it is enough to pip Beans Forster and move up to second.
Yeah, and when I talked about those gaps from second on back, very, very close. That was Josh Justice you saw in the background poking that big, big plume of smoke there behind him. But Shanabrook only about 100th of a second faster than Forster, and that means he is going to be able to hold on to that P2 position, albeit narrowly here.
And we'll have to see how they race. Now, we also saw there as we had Shanabrook, and I think Lewis Lockshine locked into the draft of Shanabrook right now as well, trying to move up from 8th in the order. Josh Justice, he caught a bunch of wall there over at the exit of turn 5, as so many drivers do, both in the virtual world and in real life as well. And that is always a challenge there. You turn in a little early at 5, you clip over the curbing there, and the car gets all kinds of unsettled. As Caleb Patry now moves up to 8th, so he is going to start on the outside of row number 4, and Lewis Lockshine looks like he now moves up into 9th position using some of that draft from Shanabrook. But somebody else, DJ, on the last flying lap, as much as we were talking about Lewis Lockshine, or probably Reed Shanabrook, Murphy Nichols on the last flying lap puts in a 1:35.65, and that is enough to put Nichols onto the outside of the front row, and almost 13 hundredths of a second faster than Reed Shanabrook.
Yeah, very, very impressive time as we now watch Megan Overstreet trying to put in maybe the last lap here, although Megan's going to have a little bit of a problem. If you look at the front nose of that car, specifically on the front left, there's a little bit of damage there. And with the high speeds that these MX-5s are going, even just that little bit of aerodynamic disturbance on the front of the car could upset it a little bit and cost Megan from getting a good time.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see there she was taking a very untraditional line down the tail end of the back straight there. Had the car all the way driver's left. Something, you know, if you're going to defend a passing maneuver into 10A that you would normally do, but she had to bring the car all the way across the track back to driver's left to set up, and she is not going to improve upon her previous best. Looks like she's going to start 16th. All right, so here is your starting grid for this evening, and we've got 30 drivers in the field. Morgan Burkhardt is going to be your pole sitter with a qualifying time of 1:34.833. Murphy Nichols is going to start right next to him on the outside of row number 1. Then we've got Reed Shanabrook. He's going to start third with Beans Forster starting in fourth. Giancarlo Schooler is going to start on the inside of row number 3 in fifth position with Nagase Yoshikawa starting in sixth. Skip Brock Jr. will start seventh with Caleb Patry in the 198 machine, our GR86 winner from race number 1. He's going to start in 8th. Lewis Lockshine will start in 9th with Andrew Wozencroft starting in 10th. Sean Hayes and Charles Bailey will make up row number 6, while Jamison Huffman and Bob Kucera will make up row number 7.
In 15th, it's going to be Joshua Justice, followed by Megan Overstreet, then Deacon Greenfield and Felix Boriardi. Then it's Rich Green and Charlie Vaccaro in P20, Bradford Gould and Mark Sherman in the row behind them. Caleb Pocock lines up in 23rd, followed by Michael Snow in 24th. 25th will be Wayne Buttermore, and 26th looks like it's going to be Stephen Bluthen. 27th will be Jeff Andrews, then it's Joaquin Effinger behind them, and then it's Kyle Robertson and Trenton Kramer to round out your 30-car field of MX-5s.
All right, there we go, and we are underway with our pace lap here for race number 2 from Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. And so let's talk about our sponsor for tonight's second race, and that is Grassroots Motorsports Magazine. They're built for the true sports car enthusiast, and they've got one mission: to be your personal guide to the sports car world. Whether it's online at grassrootsmotorsports.com, in print or in person, the racers and builders, the car nerds at Grassroots Motorsports, take you behind the scenes and show you how to make your car better. Along the way, they'll give you a taste of everything this hobby has to offer, from 1,000 horsepower track monsters to cool street cars built in driveways. They also maintain a collection of staff-built project cars, because hands-on technical articles aren't typed behind a desk. They're scribbled down in the garage. To not only read but become part of the story, head on over to grassrootsmotorsports.com. And I swear here, DJ, that this pace car, and maybe it's the whole driving a Porsche thing, but it just seems much faster here for the MX-5s than it did for the GR86s. Here as they're coming down the back straight, and it always, and especially in a larger field like this, a 30-car field, it definitely makes it more challenging for the drivers to get gridded up, to get formed up, and not have that huge accordion effect as they all then try to funnel down into 10A. And I don't know what it is. I'm usually not the one to do it, but seemingly every race that I run here at Road Atlanta that isn't the standing start, there is always some kind of pile up on the pace lap that seemingly like 5 drivers or so never take the green flag without having to go to the pit lane first.
Yeah, exactly. It can get a little bit hairy there coming down through 11 and 12. Hopefully these drivers going to be able to make it around here for this 20-minute race, rather, as Burkhardt and Nichols bring the field around to green, and we get ready to go racing.
All right, here we go as they come down the hill. Pace car pulls onto the pit lane. Morgan Burkhardt now has the field. Murphy Nichols sitting just to his left, and it is a green flag, and we are racing here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Jumping to the inside quickly, Reed Shanabrook looking to make it 3 cars wide as Morgan Burkhardt pushes him all the way down to the inside. They're not going to get great exit speed here, as Murphy Nichols is now going to get bottled up behind the green number 14 machine. Giancarlo Schooler, the great run from the second row. He now moves up into second and is side by side with Shanabrook as they run down the hill. And going off, that is Wozencroft as he goes all the way to the wall. And who else was that with him? Was that Charles Bailey with him? As they both went off at turn 3, is same issue that we always see here, whether it's on the start or whether it's on lap 5. It's so hard to go side by side through 3, DJ.
Yeah, you just cannot do it. Looks like the number 18 there had a little bit of a problem as well. That's Mark Sherman, who just seemed to be offline. Ooh, big punt there. That was Murphy Nichols giving a little bit of a how you do to the number 14 of Reed Shannabrook, and that's now going to set up a drag race coming out of turn 7.
Honk honk with the plastic horn instead of the chrome horn as they came out of 7. And another driver, this is Megan Overstreet in the 044 machine, as she has issues coming out of turn 7 onto the back straight. She's going to fall now all the way back towards the rear of the field as this battle between Shannabrook and Nichols has not subsided yet as they come down in the 10A side by side. And while they do that, while they fight, Yoshikawa now is locked in right behind, but it's also allowing Burkhardt and Schooler to start to separate themselves out from the rest of the field. Schooler now has almost a 1.5 second advantage. Now you can see Schooler almost halfway down the front straight as these drivers just now come out of turn 12.
And a great bit of car control there from Yoshikawa, being able to hold on to everything. I think that may have been a little bit of contact in front there with the cars, as we've got a big incident coming in behind.
There we go. Caleb Patry in the 198 machine. He's on the outside. He gets spun around, goes off into the grass as Huffman and Lewis Lockshine go by. And I think we'll try and get that replay to see exactly what happened there. But I think it was Lockshine and Huffman that were alongside Patry, and just like 2 wide going into 3 doesn't work, going 3 wide through 1 rarely works as well. Let's take a look and see exactly what happened here.
Yeah, so this is Patry there on the outside. There you see the 3 wide move, a little bit of a jink to the inside, and just, as you said, Greg, 3 wide into 1 is never going to work out here at Road Atlanta, and Patry really and truly the one who got it caught out worst. We're also going to take a look here a little farther up. This is Beans Forster on the replay, and I think we're just retooling everything here because it looks like they've been able to keep themselves in single file order.
Yeah, and I take that back. I don't think that was Lewis Lockshine that was involved with that. I'll have to get the other car that was involved, but the burgundy machine that was involved in that incident there. As we jump back to the live action, and there is we've got Huffman. Well, there's Lockshine in the orange and white machine at the tail end of that field, and now side by side coming out of turn 7, it is Jamison Huffman and Beans Forster with Yoshikawa, Nichols, and then Shannabrook just ahead. And once again, we've got Shannabrook and Nichols who cannot decide who wants to be third, but you know, again, all the while letting our top 2 drivers sneak away here as and going wide, and we'll have to see where that was that up at the top of the hill here? I think that was Yoshikawa running wide going into 3, DJ.
Yeah, it was. Yoshikawa just losing a little bit of grip there. Beans Forster looks like there's a little bit of a problem in the back. Potentially Robertson, I think Effinger, maybe even Overstreet involved in it, Moriarty as well. There's a lot of drivers off. I think we're going to try to pull up a replay here a little bit later. But as for right now, we keep our eyes fixed on Beans Forster as he tries to move his way up through the field and hopefully by Jamison Huffman.
That's right. As these drivers here battling it out for 3rd position have been very closely matched. Lewis Lockshine has dropped a little bit off that lead pack with Yoshikawa, Justice in behind, and then just a little bit further back from there. Welcome back to the series. Sean Hayes in that the yellow and black number 94 machine, as now Huffman's going to move to the inside, try to take a position from Reed Shannabrook, and can he get Murphy Nichols as well? This is the battle for 3rd as Forster's going to try to follow Huffman through, and Huffman, great move there, makes up 2 positions coming out of turn 7 all the way down to 10A, and he is your new 3rd place driver with Murphy Nichols in the white number 5 running in 4th, with Beans Forster getting around Shannabrook, and the odd man out in that whole battle there, Shannabrook, who on the previous lap had been up as high as 3rd position, now finds him back not only from 6th, but he's got Yoshikawa, Lockshine, and Justice, and now Hayes all back into this battle as well. So it is, what, an 8-car fight now for 3rd position.
Yeah, it certainly is. Shannabrook being very aggressive there on Forster, going down through the S's. That is not normally an area where you see an overtake getting done, but Shannabrook having enough of being bullied here. I think Reed wants to get some moves on and try to hold on to that 3rd place position. He does not want to let any of this go.
Yeah, that was a great move, and you can always tell if a driver comes and hops the curb a little bit too much at turn 3, and they may be just fighting that car, trying to keep it from sliding off drivers left over the exit curbing for that corner, and Shannabrook just saw an opportunity there and was able to come right underneath the 231 machine. All right, so let's take a look. I think we've got that incident queued up. Nope, we don't. Okay. So we'll stay here with this very large train. And look at this, as Murphy Nichols almost goes to the grass trying to get through. Oh, and that is Giancarlo Schooler, as Schooler is trying to work around the one. I guess that was, yeah, that was Morgan Burkhardt just ahead. And and Shannabrook into the gravel, but our two leaders, Burkhardt and Schooler, starting to fall back to that lead pack now. So the multiple seconds of advantage that they had built up in the first 3 laps is now gone, as Jamison Huffman, who is definitely the hard charger here, having made up 10 positions since the start of this race, now right on the back of Giancarlo Schooler's number 111.
Yeah, he is pushing here at this point, and we're going to keep them going as they come down through the hill, through the S's here, although I think we've got a replay pulled up to figure out exactly what happened here to Burkhardt and Schooler, Greg.
All right, let's take a look here as Schooler locked in right behind the number 40 machine of Burkhardt and actually manages to get right up alongside, outbrakes Burkhardt, but just got onto the brakes so late, could not get the car turned in. Burkhardt turned in for the corner, and Schooler was still going straight for the gravel trap, and they lost a ton of ground there, as we said.
Yeah, they did. They've been able to gain it back here a little bit, but I think we've also got a replay here to find out exactly what happened to reach Shannabrook. Let's take a look at this, brought to you by SDK Gaming. That's Beans Forster right behind him. Shannabrook taking a very defensive line, coming down into 10. And is there going to be a little bit of contact here? No, I don't think so. He just lost the car, had a little bit too much speed through 10A. Yeah,
just had the extra speed. He was trying to give Forster driver's room there, racing room, as they came through that complex. Got on the throttle, and as the track flattens out there, got on, and the rear end walked around. But already here, DJ, as we look, both Burkhardt and Schooler starting to open things up once again, and we're only about halfway through this race. Now, I think look at this, and we're looking a little bit further back in the field here, DJ. As we watch this fight, as we watch Morgan Burkhardt, we watch Giancarlo Schooler and Jamison Huffman, who's now separated himself out from Beans Forster. Talk about some hard chargers here. Stephen Blethen started off in 26th position tonight. He now finds himself in that green and blue number 150 machine, 9th place overall, and you see he's got Caleb Patry on that recovery run directly behind him as Patry looking to find his way. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Steven. So should I talk about the drivers that have made up 20 positions? I'm afraid to say anything now.
Our camera's on him, so we might as well talk about Trenton Kramer here at this point, who is up 20.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Trenton Kramer started in 30th position, last place in the field, and he is now up to 10th position. We've got another hard charger. That's Jeff Andrews in the 65 machine. He's up to 13th. Don't put the camera on him. I don't want to put him into a wall. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Steven.
Well, here looks like we've got a pretty good battle going on. This is Michael Snow, Stephen Blethen, Megan Overstreet, all coming in a nice little triangle down into the braking zone for 10A. Going to be a little bit careful here. You don't want to get too squirrely. They're going to keep everything together, but still side by side there between Blethen and Overstreet. Blethen's going to be able to hold it out.
And there you go with the flag O Texas on the door for Michael Snow, and he's starting to close things down on Jeff Andrews in that blue and yellow number 65 machine. Hold on to it, Jeff. Don't go off track, please, please, please. I can only take one of these a night. Here as we watch as Blethen and Overstreet are battling. And remember, Overstreet had that incident on the very first lap coming out of turn 7. She had fallen all the way back to 28th position, and she is now back up to 16th. And you know, she has been in this position it's definitely not the first time this season that I think she's still trying to come to grips with the MX-5 here a little bit. She had some trouble at Barber as well. I remember her going off down by the corkscrew, and I think a couple of the other outings for the MX-5s as well. But she always gets a great recovery in. All right, let's jump back to this battle for the lead where Giancarlo Schooler, DJ, has made up all of the ground that Morgan Burkhardt had clawed back after their earlier incident.
Yeah, it certainly has, as he tries to be able to close in here at this point. Burkhardt and Schooler. Now that gap holding at about 1.9, let's go ahead and call it 2 seconds. So they're going to have a little bit of room to be able to fight with each other here, but they've got to be careful because Huffman and Forster still have good speed behind them. And if they're not careful, they are going to find themselves right back into another battle for these lead positions.
Yeah, and at the moment here, Forster's running the same pace as our two leaders. Huffman, of the top four, the slowest of the bunch, almost a half a second slower than our leaders. And I think more importantly is Beans Forster now firmly in the draft, about a half a second slower than Forster the last 2 laps. And so Forster obviously is going to be looking to get up right back behind that blue and red number 89 machine, maybe draft them right out of turn 7 and get a good run down towards turn 10A, that maybe he feels that he's got an opportunity to pull right back up to our lead pair.
Yeah, maybe does. Let's see. We're going to focus here on Yoshikawa in a little bit of a battle with Skip Brock Jr. Yoshikawa's got a good draft coming out of the turn 7 there, but I think he lost a little bit of time on corner exit. That's going to slow him down here a little bit. Now, he's not going to be far enough back to be put into the clutches of Joshua Justice, but 0.3 of a second at this point on the track, not really enough to be able to close it down. The most Yoshikawa's going to be able to do is just put pressure back to the here at the back of Skip Brock.
Well, and as we see Yoshikawa for a moment take a look to the inside of Skip Brock. By the way, Skip, a Spec Miata driver, Road Atlanta being his home track. We'd expect him to do somewhat well here, but now we see, I was going to say, 2 pairs closing up as Josh Justice is now closing up on the back of Yoshikawa, but you can see now Beans Forster all over the back of the number 89 machine. He wasn't able to get the pass done in 10A, but they are now working up the hill. And I think Forster, he needs to get this move done and get it done quickly, because at this point both Huffman and Forster are losing touch with our 2 leaders, and Huffman once again a number of clicks of the clock slower than Beans Forster.
Yeah, really starting to let itself be apparent here. I think Beans has got to try to make the move here, coming down into turn 6. Oh, we've got another car around. That's Blethen coming up over turn 5.
And that is I think that is the second time now that we've seen Stephen Blethen go off at turn 5, and I don't know if he had help this time around, but what was turning out to be a wonderful evening for Stephen Blethen. Let's take a look, see what happened. What was turning out to be a wonderful night for the 150 machine is turning egg-shaped and pear-shaped.
Oh, just lost it there, coming up and over the S's. That's a little bit of a strange one. I haven't seen that necessarily happen there.
Yeah, maybe didn't get the car woed down, but obviously wasn't able to get the nose towards even pointing towards the apex there. And with the speed there, you're going to hit the outside of that exit curbing and that little triangular gravel trap there, which is just going to launch the car in the air, which is exactly what we saw.
Yeah, exactly. As now we check back in on that battle for P3. Jamison Huffman, Beans Forster coming down into turn 1. Beans giving a little bit of a bump draft coming down the start-finish straightaway. Not going to be able to get that move done. And I think smartly just going to hold back in line here, coming through 2 and 3 and down through the S's. Beans waiting and biding his time.
Well, he's not going to have much time left to go here, DJ, as we are now under 5 minutes remaining. You know, again, these 20-minute sprint races, they go by so quickly here, and starting to see where that next pack, they're a little bit further back. We're going to see him just cresting over the top of the hill now, but Skip Brock Jr., Nagase Yoshikawa, and Josh Justice starting to close things down, and there we go. As Beans Forster, he gets the pass done, but we talked about this in the first race as Jamison Huffman comes underneath Beans Forster coming through 7. That is going to seriously impact their speed coming onto this back straight. We can see now that Burkhardt and Schooler just in the last 3 laps have now opened up almost a 6-second advantage over Huffman and Forster, but this is going to allow Skip Brock Jr. and Yoshikawa to close things down a little bit more, especially as these two drivers once again door to door, mirror to mirror, side by side as they come into 10A.
And it looks like Beans carries too much speed through 10B, and that's going to be him off into the gravel trap, able to keep it back and point it the right way, but not without losing position there to Yoshikawa, Skip Brock Jr., and Joshua Justice.
Oh, wow. So that is just deadly for Beans Forster, who was battling for 3rd position, now finds himself in 7th, and he's going to have to start all over again. And I think more importantly for that group of 3, now group of 4, they don't have that bridge up to Jamison Huffman as we go and look at this battle that we've been eyeing before with Michael Snow in the green and white 077. We've got Megan Overstreet in the 044, the purple and pink machine, as she gets ahead of that group. Then Bob Kucera and Andrew Wozencroft. Remember, Wozencroft had that early off on lap 1 up at the top by turn 3, and he has worked his way now back up into this pack in the midfield.
Yeah, working his way back up through, but he's only got about 3 minutes left to go. The good news here for Megan Overstreet is she's got a little bit of a gap. Let's call it 0.5 of a second as they work their way out of the S's right now, and she's going to be able to catch just a little bit of that toe off of Bradford Gould up in front of her. Ooh, but we've got a battle here for P3, Greg.
And here we go. This is Skip Brock Jr., and he made up a ton of ground in the last lap and manages to draft by Jamison Huffman and draft by early. But as we saw on the last lap, Huffman not afraid to be aggressive going down into 10A, comes down deep, far driver's right. He retakes the position from Skip Brock Jr., and so Huffman once again finds himself in 3rd position. But look at this as we now have Yoshikawa and Justice and Beans Forster now up to the back of Jamison Huffman's number 89 machine.
As they all work their way through turn 1 with lap times here at about 1:35, I think this is going to be probably 2 laps to go here for these drivers. So Huffman has got to be looking in his rear view mirror, making sure everything is absolutely covered off.
And here as they roll down the hill, and we're on board with Josh Justice in that blue number 99 machine. He's looking to find a way back through this pack a little bit. He's been sitting behind Yoshikawa for about 15 laps as Justice gets a whole bunch of that exit curbing and some of the gravel and some of the grass as he now loses a position to Beans Forster. But once again, side by side coming through turn 6, and you notice there Skip Brock Jr., he knows not to go down underneath the 89 machine coming through turn 7, lest those 4 drivers behind, or 3 drivers behind, just draft right on by here as they make their way down. And we are now with Burkhardt and Schooler working their very last laps. When these drivers come across the stripe, they will be getting the white flag. 1 lap to go here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta.
And it looks like they're continued side by side between Huffman and Brock Jr. Brock Jr. off into the grass. That's going to allow for Beans Forster and maybe Yoshikawa to be able to slip their way on through. This is going to be an absolute gaggle coming to the white flag.
Wow, and Yoshikawa gets pinched at the apex. And as they come to the white flag, to the start-finish line and head down to turn number 1 on lap number 13, it is Jamison Huffman, your 3rd place driver. Beans Forster's made his way all the way back from the back of this pack. He finds himself in 4th. Skip Brock Jr. There in 5th, and he is side by side with Forster as they come down through the S's. We've talked about the efficacy of this, and it ain't great. So Brock Jr. gets back in line. He's got Yoshikawa and still Josh Justice sitting at the back of this field. Justice getting a whole bunch of apex curbing. Can he hold on to that car? He's had trouble at turn 5 all night. He does. And he's going to get back in line here as we've got now just 4 more corners remaining. Beans Forster is going to follow Jamison Huffman out of turn 7 onto the back straight for the last time.
Oh, and Huffman gets off into the grass. That's going to get him all kinds of slideways there, and I think Beans Forrester is licking his chops. He's already alongside, pulling down to the inside, and he's going to bring Skip Bach Jr. with him.
Yeah, everybody else is going, not the horse we want to pick. We're just going to push Beans head down towards turn 10A as Skip Brock Jr. now side by side with Huffman as they come down the hill. Forster moves a bit to the inside to defend as Morgan Burkhardt and Giancarlo Schooler cross the line first and second. Let's go back to that battle for third as Forster gets around Huffman now as they come down the hill. And it's Huffman to the inside. And look at the run by Justice. They're going to get to the apex. Justice is going to go across sideways, but Huffman hangs on for third. Yoshikawa running in reverse, going backwards, comes home in fourth. Beans Forrester, Josh Justice, Skip Brock Jr. backwards as well, comes across the line. He finishes in seventh. Wow. Caleb Patry, he works his way back up into eighth position. Deacon Greenfield will finish in ninth, and rounding out the top 10, driving the 444 machine, is Trenton Kramer with Megan Overstreet. She's going to finish in 11th. Michael Snow will finish, will finish 12th, and Bob Kucera, lucky 13 in that group. What a finish there, and that helicopter view there, DJ, I think was the best shot we could have had of that absolute mayhem. Let's take a look at it again.
Yeah, absolutely crazy there. And I want to give some massive credit to Yoshikawa. That was a really great run coming out of the corner. Watch that purple and black car just kind of recognize where everything was. I thought he was going to have a chance at it. Joshua Justice pinched down to the inside, nowhere to go. He's going to lose control of the car with a little bit of a touch there from Skip Brock Jr. And everybody just skittering across the line there.
Wow, yeah, you had 4 cars there. The track is only 3 cars wide, and they were all looking for the same lane as they came out of turn 12. Just absolute mayhem. So your winner again tonight, Morgan Burkhardt, takes his second win of the evening. He won in the Jettas. He wins in the Miatas. Giancarlo Schooler comes home in second, his second place of the evening. Beans Forster takes the last step on the podium. Josh Justice, who had been sitting back in 6th position for pretty much the majority of the race, finds himself just off the podium in 4th. Caleb Patry works his way all the way up to 5th, and Deacon Greenfield. And we're seeing some changes there, and I'm wondering if perhaps you'll notice that the number 89 machine is showing now back in 11th position, and I'm wondering if perhaps he took a penalty for perhaps too many incident points. DJ is, and also Yoshikawa, they're showing in 11th and 12th position. Skip Brock showing in 13th. So we'll have to try and figure out exactly what brought that on. But let's do this. Let's bring in. Let's start off with Beans Forster, finishing 3rd tonight in the MX5s.
All right, Beans, a little bit of a crazy run there for you at the end. It looked like everybody just had their full elbows out. Talk me through those last couple of corners.
Yeah, after that one spin going through 10A, I was just kind of putting my head down, see how many spots I can make up. Was not expecting to make up that many, but looks like I did.
Well, it looked like it was a little bit of a war of attrition out there tonight with a lot of drivers making mistakes, even our top 2 running into it. I mean, was it just track conditions were difficult, or was it just everybody driving on the absolute limit?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. The track was pretty hot compared to qualifying and practice, but these cars are just so loose now anyway. And with it being Road Atlanta and every corner's blind, and when you're on the bumper of another car, it's just extremely hard to see your markers on the track. So I always end up with more incidents than most of my races here at Road Atlanta when we're fighting pretty hard. And I guess I just got a little bit more lucky, a couple incidents points away from getting a drive-through.
Well, lucky to be able to avoid that. And Beans, we wish you luck in the weeks going forward, my friend. But who'd you like to thank for tonight?
I just want to thank you guys for putting on such a good show. Thank all the drivers here for their all their participation, and Team Watson Racing for their setups, and Full Send Sims for helping to support me.
All right, well, thank you so much, Beans. That was Beans Forster, one of your key drivers out there tonight.
All right, so DJ, and thanks so much to Beans. Let's bring in Giancarlo Schooler, finishing second tonight, driving the number 111 machine.
Giancarlo, looked like a pretty commanding drive for you and your teammate Morgan up at the front of the field, but I want to bring you back to about halfway through the race. It looked like you two got a little bit testy with each other, a little bit of contact.
Yeah, we did. It was a little unintentional. I did go for the move there, and I know we saw it coming. Unfortunately, overshot the brakes just a little bit with the draft, and just got into him just a little bit, which slowed us down to the guys behind. But all in all, 1-2 finish, I can't really complain.
Well, I certainly can't complain about that. And after that incident took place, it just looked like you guys continued, as you have in times past, to just have the mark of this field. What is your guys' secret? I've got to ask you.
Yeah, I mean, me and Morgan have put countless hours in together, racing. Both of us love this track, and we love the MX-5. It's a great car, great track, so it's a great combo here. And yeah, tons of hours put in practice, that really, is the big part of this is just, practice makes perfect.
Well, practice certainly does make perfect for you, and we wish you luck in the weeks going forward. But as for tonight, who would you like to thank?
Thanks to the guys at Delta Sport, Elite Performance Industries, my friends and family for all supporting me, and thank you guys for putting the show on.
Well, thank you so much, Giancarlo. That was Giancarlo Schooler, your second place finisher here tonight.
All right, so let's now finally wrap things up by bringing in Morgan Burkhardt, who takes his second win of the evening, driving the number 40 MX-5.
Morgan, another commanding drive, another victory. This has got to feel pretty good to go 2 for 2.
Yeah, it does feel pretty good, especially I was having a few wheel issues through the middle phase of the race. I got out to like a 3-second gap and kind of was pretty checked out, and then I started getting some wouldn't really give me all the way throttle, so I was struggling pretty hard, and then JC caught me and we went side by side into 10A and had a little bit of contact. He went deep and I misjudged turning and kind of turned him across my nose, so I slowed up so he could catch back up. And after that, the pack caught us and we started working together again, and then walked away again. So it was pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good indeed. Talk to me about, as a driver, what you do when you kind of recognize you're having those issues with your equipment. I mean, what kind of changes did you have to put into your driving style in order to counter that?
Well, you have to think about what the problem is, and then you have to think, how can I maximize pace with this problem? So I was kind of stopping braking as much for corners, and then trying to go flat out, well, quote flat out, as much as I could through corners to keep speed up. But it's you have to juggle. It's like driving in the real world with a wounded car. You have to play to your strengths that the car now has as the new strengths, and try to avoid its weaknesses, because usually its weaknesses get multiplied much worse.
Certainly does. Well, again, a 2-win night for you. Who'd you like to thank? Who makes this possible?
Definitely my parents for making all this possible. Major's Garage for employing me. I go and build touring car setups for them, so go check them out. Delta Sport for supporting me, and JC and Caleb especially. It's a lot of fun with them. And then you guys for putting on a good broadcast for us, making it really nice and interesting and looking party, and Stevie for setting up the league in the first place.
Well, I'll tell you, when you guys put on a race like that, it certainly makes us makes our job pretty easy. But
it
Morgan
definitely doesn't make us look pretty, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for darn sure. I can tell you that. We are not pretty by any stretch of the imagination. But Morgan, thank you so much. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
All right, thanks so much to Morgan Burkhardt, and I probably have his father laughing hysterically once again. All right, so DJ, why don't we get ready to wrap things up here? But if I may, for just a half second here, shouldn't be any surprise that we have a lot of Sports Car Club of America racers as part of this league. And Stevie Ray, when he put together the Ray Esports Racing League, a lot of times what he tries to do is mirror as much as he can the real life SCCA Super Tour schedule. We had a race, I think our second event of the season came at the Circuit of the Americas came the same time that the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour was at COTA, and this weekend another stop on the Super Tour is going to be at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, where I am one of your humble announcers, and so along with Brian Belansky. And so if you'd like to take some time, we hope that you would, in watching those broadcasts. We're going to be on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday starting at 8 a.m. Eastern Time on the Sports Car Club of America YouTube channel, or if you go to scca.com, we should have a link right on the front page there so you can see those broadcasts. We'd really love to have you. So for DJ Clark, for John Grabowski, I'm Greg Ginsburg. We'll see you next week from a virtual Watkins Glen International that's going to be next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Don't miss it. Have a wonderful week, everybody.